Hello and welcome to the first segment in 2023 of the SHRM Labs Workplace Tech Spotlight. Happy New Year to you all and best wishes for a fantastic 2023. In 2023, it's actually going to be a great year at SHRM because we're celebrating, believe it or not, our 75th anniversary. So stay tuned for a lot of partying and celebrations that are going to be happening at SHRM throughout the year. My name is Guillermo Corea. I'm Managing Director of SHRM Labs, SHRM's Workplace Innovation Lab. I'm your host for this series where we shine a spotlight on some of the most interesting future of work topics, innovators, and disruptive technologies. Before we get going with today's topic, we just have some general housekeeping and announcements that we wanted to make. For any of the startups out there that are listening, the Workplace Tech Accelerator application period for the 2023 cohort will close on January 16th. So get your applications in. Also, the application deadline for the Better Workplaces Challenge Cup, the leading workplace tech pitch competition, will close on January 15th. This year, we're further expanding the competition globally, as well as adding a new track for SHRM members to showcase how the people who know the workplace the best, HR, how all of you are innovating. The application period for individual SHRM members is now open and will be closing on February 19th. By the way, the winner of this competition will receive a trip to the SHRM Annual Conference and Exposition in Las Vegas from June 11th through the 14th. And as many of you know, this is the largest HR conference in the world. And also, in case you haven't heard, we're thrilled that music legend Janet Jackson will be performing at the Tuesday night concert. So let's go ahead and begin to talk about 2023. So to kick things off in 2023, we're focusing today's segment on the people, as I was saying, on the people who know the workplace the best, HR. As many as you know, SHRM's purpose is to elevate the HR profession, and our mission is to empower people in workplaces by advancing HR practices and maximizing human potential. To that end, we strongly believe, and I can't emphasize it enough, we strongly believe that HR is best positioned to lead workplace innovation and organizational development. A report compiled by the Harvard Business Review revealed that within the next 10 years, 65% of jobs will necessitate new skills that are not currently required. As the world progresses and changes, so too must the field of human resources. A recent McLean and Company report found that organizations report being at different stages in their digitization journeys. Of the firms that are undergoing a digital transformation project, 97% say they are optimizing HR processes, 93% are expanding the use of existing technologies, and 88% are exploring additional technology. So everyone listening today, I think, will agree that HR needs to continue transforming in order to meet an organization's needs of tomorrow. So today, I am so happy that we have a very, very special guest with us, and I couldn't think of a better person to talk to about this topic. So joining us is Dr. Alex Alonso, Chief Knowledge Officer at SHRM and founder of SHRM Labs. Alex, thanks so much for being here and helping us kick off 2023, and welcome to the stage.
Thank you, Guillermo. It's a real pleasure. And I'm so ecstatic to be here, especially with talking about the topic of transformative HR, especially knowing that we've had the great reset over the last 3 years. And so I'm looking forward to discussing this topic with you.
Fantastic. So before we get going, you want to tell the audience a little bit about your role at SHRM, because I know a lot of people out there always ask, so what does SHRM's Chief Knowledge Officer do at SHRM or for the entire HR profession?
Well, I don't know that I do anything for the entire HR profession. I'd like to think that I contribute a little bit to making better workplaces for a better world, and that I'm fortunate enough to work with all 12 million of the people across the globe who are entrusted with talent responsibilities. Now, my role is certainly an interesting one in that I get to be a chief knowledge officer, having been at SHRM for 12 years and had 6 different roles. I can say that what I am fortunate enough to do is lead innovation activities at SHRM, to lead insights operations at SHRM, and to lead professional development insights activities and informational activities at SHRM. As I like to joke around, sometimes I call myself the C3IO, right? You can tell I love Star Wars, right? There's no question about that. the C3IO in my mind is really the chief information, intel, and innovation person at SHRM. And really what I do is help organizations with evidence and information to make their organizations better.
Fantastic. Excellent. So let's get right to it, because as you were saying earlier, the world of work dramatically changed over the past couple of years. New norms were established and HR had to lead the way, right? So what makes an HR organization excellent in this day and age of forces for change?
Well, it's interesting. Given what we've seen over the last 3 years, we've seen a real rise in three major trends, as far as I see them. One is resilience, and what it is that we're looking for when organizations are being tested and pressure tested, more importantly, to have a talent responsiveness that allows them to be successful in the current labor market. The other thing that we see is that organizations are really more focused on wellness and what wellness means within their own workforce, and really taking stewardship over the kind of culture that creates a better workplace. And then the other thing that we see is that organizations are really focused on growth. And I don't mean just economic growth, I don't mean financial growth. I mean growth in terms of the ability to evolve and disrupt itself over into what is the new reimagined version of itself, right? I liken that to being Netflix, where we started off by mailing everyone their DVDs, and now we're at the point where we're streaming and a content creator. Now I know that there are some clear issues with that today, but certainly it's that reinvention is what we're looking for in every organization. So
Right.
people ask me, how is it that those three trends are really shaping the world of work? In my mind, what it speaks to is really what we look for in terms of rethinking and resetting our own expectations and values as we consistently look at how our organizations should change.
Exactly. And so along those lines, what's the framework that's available, for HR to, to be more strategic and tactical, and especially as we consider 2023, right, and the HR function and how it fits into improving an organization's competitiveness, for example.
Yeah, it's interesting. Years ago, if you'd asked me this question, I would have said that you got to practice the 4 R's, right? At HR, in HR, traditionally, we've practiced the wrong kind of 4 R's, right? We used to practice the things like rules, roles, everything that had to do with regulation, and everything that had to do with being right? That was the core of what everybody recognized HR to be. And today, it's really more about I need to be somebody who focuses on reconnaissance, meaning I take intel and do more with it. It means that I am somebody who can reimagine the enterprise. I'm somebody who can redefine and recreate what it is that made us successful. And I'm somebody who can actually share this and regenerate how the organization takes its information and pushes it out further. So I think of it as forget about those old 4 R's and focus on the new 4 R's.
Yeah, I love that, because as I was saying at the beginning, we strongly believe that HR is best equipped to be the leading force in workplace innovation, and that goes right in line with that. So we kind of got into talking about the role, so what do you think besides that, what else has been identified as the role HR plays in ensuring sustainability and a greater return in workforce investment?
So, interestingly, what we find is that we just conducted some research in partnership with People and Strategy Journal, which is SHRM's premier journal for its executive network. And one of the things that we found is that when it comes to sustainability and really sustaining the organization, there are elements that executives are much more focused on than other parts of the organization. And so when we think about this, one of the things that they're thinking about is how do we create a situation that is sustainable for the talent that we want to have on hand. And very clearly, there are three mindsets that they look for when it comes to talent, and talent that will use and leverage workplace innovation to its own advantage. And so when they're thinking about this, they're thinking about a CHRO, they're thinking about a director of talent acquisition that is focused on doing a couple things, or a person who's their HR lead doing a couple things. One is playing the role of being a miner, right? And I don't mean a miner like a somebody who's young. I mean, a miner like somebody who is a gold miner or a miner of silver. And the idea being that when you take the frame of mind of a miner, when you're looking at talent, you're not looking at who do I kick out, who do I screen out. You're looking for nuggets and pockets of skill and talent that will make you will be an asset to your organization, right? So it's changing that frame of mind. The other thing that they're looking for is somebody who can actually focus on complex solutions and problems, right? And so they're looking for somebody who analyzes things from the perspective of being truly a complex problem solver. And then the last thing that they're looking at is somebody who brings a tenacity to the problems, because they recognize that the problems that they'll be dealing with and the solutions they'll be building have multi-stage and multi-long-term prongs, right? And so every problem that one goes through will be focusing on those types of things. And I think of this as somebody who is a chess player, right? Somebody who's going to sit there and say, this is the move that I'm going to make today, and this is how it's going to end up. Now, when people are thinking about how they evaluate this, I actually espouse one key metric, right? And that metric is actually something that is HR's answer to EBITDA, right? And if you're in the world of finance, EBITDA is everything that you assess an organization by, right? But in HR, if you think about that, I actually espouse the concept of Geshwi, which is actually an Indian term for true profit. And one of the things that stands out is Geshwi is growth, engagement, sustainability, and health that is generated by your workforce investments. If you can identify and quantify each of those things, you are somebody who is actually bringing value to the organization. And the higher your Geshwi, the better your organization is.
Fantastic. Love it. Love it. By the way, I'm going to have to look more into that Geshua term. First time that I'm hearing about it. So.
I'll send it to you. I actually am happy to share this with the whole audience here. I'll send it to you, Guillermo. I've got a beautiful slide on it. I've even had people like Ram Charan share their insights on it. So
fabulous. Yeah, we'll have to share with the audience here. So we're running out of time here, but a couple of more questions here for you. So as we look at 2023, and once again focusing it back on the HR leaders out there, decision makers. What do you think are some of the most essential skills that HR professionals should develop in 2023?
In 2023, what I would argue that are the most core value skills are really one, being a brand builder and a brand expander, right? And I think about that in terms of being somebody who can actually craft what the brand of your organization is. The other thing I always argue is I find that HR was named HR at the wrong time. I think that what we really are is employee experience engineers, right? And the best people who are focused on that are people who are focusing on how they build those kinds of experiences that make employees be engaged, be part of the enterprise, and be part of what it is that your mission is, right? So I've shared this with folks at the University of Miami, a good colleague of mine, Valeria Altman. I said, you shouldn't call your program an HR program, call it an employee experience engineering program. And the last thing that I will argue, and this is just something that strikes me that we still continue to fight this fight, is there needs to be data sciences in what it is that HR does, right? And I've never come across a profession that really leveraged analytics more. People always laugh at me when I say I've worked with financial services professionals. I've worked with a variety of other different industries. I was in the insurance industry for many years, and even in actuarial settings, there are not as many metrics as might exist in the world of human capital. And so I argue that people need to really get comfortable with their data sciences and analytics prowess.
Absolutely, and as you're aware, that's one of the things that SHRM Labs is going to be pushing throughout 2023. So, for HR professionals out there, stay tuned, because you're definitely going to be seeing a lot more content around that to help you, grow in the way that Alex was just mentioning. So let's get put our crystal ball out there, right, and look into the future. What will be the trends facing HR and employers in 2030 and beyond?
So the trends that I see in terms of 2030, one is We're going to be focused primarily on what I like to call, or what a good colleague of mine, Carrie Nelson, who's also part of the SHRM Research Institute, what we call the skills cratering phenomenon, right? Many people talk specifically about skills-based hiring, and they look at how we find skills across an enterprise. And what I found in particular is it's not enough to say that we're experiencing skills gaps that are contributing to talent shortages, right? What we're actually seeing is that the skills gap is, here are the skills that I need, and here are the skills that are available to me, and the gap is widening. But the gap is also widening. The depth of that and of the proficiency needed for even the skills that we can find is getting deeper, right? And so to me, we're creating a crater, not necessarily a skills gap. The other thing that I would argue that is something that people aren't talking about, and I know is near and dear to your heart and my heart, Guillermo, is there is going to come a time when Generation H is going to impact the workplace. And people look at me and say, what is Generation H? By my projections, and by projections of SHRM Research, and also the Aspen Institute, Latinos, Americans in Society, one of the things that we're seeing is that eventually the core of the workforce and the generation that exists most effectively. So by the time that we get to Generation Eta, this double Eta, which is two E's, right? We're going to, or 4 generations from now, what we're going to see is that the predominant group is not an age-based group, but actually an ethnicity-based group. And it's going to be Hispanics and Latinos. And at what point do we actually deal with the fact that we have inclusion, not just of individuals by age, but also inclusion of individuals by age and their background, their cultural heritage? And so this is something that's going to hit us by the time that we get to 2035.
Some very interesting insights for sure. Any last thoughts around, the workplace of tomorrow, what it's going to, I mean, I think you kind of hinted on it, but as far as HR's role, right, as the stewards of employee and customer experience, I mean, you mentioned, the employee experience engineer, and any other last minute insights that you can think of.
The only thing that I will add to this is the most savvy organizations are going to be the ones that can bridge the gap between employee and their customer base, and recognize that there are similarities that are needed, and then there are differences that are needed. The other thing I will highlight, and it is something that is absolutely critical, the most effective organizations will be the ones that have the best listening programs and or technologies. And so I would argue, build your listening skills, because those are the ones that are going to be most valuable the next 15 to 20 years.
Fantastic. Excellent. Well, and we could probably do an entire day here with all the different topics. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have for today. Thank you so much, Alex, for joining us. It's been a wonderful conversation. And for you out there, we hope you enjoyed it as well. And once again, if you're an HR professional, you need to start thinking of yourself as the person at your organization best equipped to lead workplace innovation. So thank you all for tuning into the SHRM Labs Workplace Tech Spotlight, the first one of 2023. We have many more coming throughout the year. If you enjoy this live stream, please share it using the hashtags SHRM Labs, Workplace Tech, as well as SHRM. Visit shrmlabs.com to stay up to date, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us. See you.
Thank you.